Title: The Hidden Strength of Our Struggles. Tyrone clutched the crumpled paper tightly, his eyes stinging as he reread the final lines of the Black History Month essay. It described the pain, injustice, and horror his ancestors faced, of families ripped apart, of people denied their freedom and dignity. His hands shook as he imagined their lives and realized how little separated his own world from their unimaginable struggles. Why did they have to go through that? Why was it fair that their suffering should be etched into the history he was supposed to celebrate? With his heart heavy and a spark of anger simmering, he folded the paper into his backpack and wandered out of the library. But as he crossed the small park near his school, he caught sight of an older man sitting on a bench, looking out at the horizon. The man wore an ancient-looking coat and a knowing smile, and when he saw Tyrone's troubled expression, he patted the space beside him. "Hey there, son," the man greeted warmly. "What's got you so worked up?" Tyrone hesitated, feeling silly, but something about the man's gaze made him spill his feelings. He talked about the essay, about the pain of reading about slavery and injustice, about feeling powerless. The man nodded slowly, his eyes sharp with understanding. "If you had the chance to change things, would you?" he asked, his voice low and steady. Tyrone didn't even hesitate. "Of course. If I could make it so none of that ever happened, I'd do it in a heartbeat." The man chuckled. "It's not an easy road, but if you're willing, I can give you that chance." Tyrone looked at him skeptically. "What do you mean? How?" The man leaned forward, extending his hand. As Tyrone reached out, the world around him seemed to melt away, colors blending and swirling until he couldn't tell up from down. Just as quickly, the whirlwind stopped, and Tyrone found himself in the middle of a dirt path surrounded by fields. A faint murmur of voices and the sound of wooden wheels clattering over uneven ground filled the air. Disoriented, he looked around, realizing he was no longer in his own time. In the distance, he saw a group of people huddled together, heads bent under the weight of sacks they carried. As he moved closer, a chill crept up his spine. They wore rough clothing and chains around their wrists. Before he could make sense of it all, a man on horseback appeared, barking orders at the people to move faster. Tyrone's heart pounded. This was real. He was back in time, face to face with the very world he'd read about. The cries of a young girl struggling to keep up tugged at his heart. Without thinking, he ran forward, grabbing her arm and helping her to her feet. The overseer whipped around, spotting Tyrone. "What do you think you're doing, boy?" the overseer growled, spurring his horse toward him. Tyrone backed up, his courage faltering under the man's glare. But as he stumbled, he noticed that the people around him were watching him, some with fear, others with a faint glimmer of hope. He took a deep breath, recalling his frustration, his anger, his wish to change things. He had the chance now, but he needed to be careful. Tyrone raised his voice, addressing the overseer directly, forcing strength into his words. "These people deserve better than this," he shouted. "Everyone here deserves freedom." The overseer laughed harshly, as if the very idea was absurd, but Tyrone noticed a few others standing a little taller, looking at him with newfound courage. Suddenly, the man from the bench appeared again, his eyes solemn. "Careful, Tyrone," he warned softly. "Changing the course of history isn't just about bravery, it's about strategy, too. Are you ready to lead these people to freedom?" Tyrone nodded, his face set in determination. "I am. I'll do whatever it takes." The man's expression softened, and he gestured to a nearby hill. "Then go. Rally the others and lead them. History is yours to shape." With his heart pounding, Tyrone began to gather the people, urging them to follow him away from the oppressive overseer. To his surprise, they listened, a spark of hope kindling in their eyes. As he led them into the forest, he realized this was just the beginning, a first step on a path toward freedom and justice, fueled by his courage and vision. As they disappeared into the trees, Tyrone felt a strange sense of purpose, knowing he had been given a chance to rewrite history, one small step at a time. As Tyrone led the group deeper into the forest, something strange started happening. His hands tingled, and a light dizziness washed over him. He looked down, and to his horror, he could see his own fingers flickering like a fading image on a screen. He gasped, stumbling back, watching his own hand as it wavered, almost see-through. The man from the bench appeared beside him once more, his face etched with a knowing sadness. What's happening to me? Tyrone stammered, panic creeping into his voice. The man placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. When you alter the past, the present reshapes itself. What you're feeling now, Tyrone, is the world shifting to reflect a different history. One where slavery never happened. One where generations of your ancestors never made it to these shores. Tyrone's mind spun. He thought of the world he knew. His family, his friends, the culture he loved, the music that felt like his heartbeat. A flood of images flashed through his mind. Rappers like Tupac, singers like Aretha Franklin, artists and activists who rose from the ashes of that painful history, creating a vibrant, resilient culture. He imagined a world without jazz, blues, hip-hop, without the struggles that sparked voices of power, resilience, and unity. His pulse quickened as he realized what was happening. Without the hardship his ancestors endured, the culture he cherished might never have blossomed at all. But that means, he trailed off, his voice thick with emotion. Yes, the man said softly. No hip-hop, no Tupac, no Dr. Dre. The Harlem Renaissance, the Civil Rights Movement, the resilience that built these things would vanish. The voices that defined freedom, identity, and pride, gone. You wouldn't exist, Tyrone. Tyrone's chest tightened, and he fought back tears. He realized he was part of something larger, a tapestry woven by centuries of struggle, survival, and triumph. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. But it had shaped something beautiful, something he was proud to be part of. I don't want this, Tyrone whispered, his voice trembling. I want things to go back. I want to exist. I want my culture to exist, my history, even the painful parts. They made us who we are. They made me who I am. The man gave him a long, understanding look. History has a way of making blessings from curses. Though it may be heavy, it's yours to carry. It's what makes you strong. Tyrone closed his eyes, his heart swelling with a strange blend of sorrow and gratitude. Please, he begged, feeling himself slip further away, fading with the memories that would no longer exist. I want my world back. With a deep sigh, the man nodded. Then open your eyes. Tyrone blinked, feeling the solid ground beneath his feet again. He looked around, finding himself back on the bench in the park, his essay clutched in his hand. The older man was gone, but the weight of their conversation lingered. Tyrone looked down at the essay, and this time, he read it with a different understanding. Yes, it hurt, but it was also a testament to survival, to triumph, to the resilience of his people. A newfound pride washed over him. The pain of the past was undeniable, but from it had come a rich culture, voices that wouldn't be silenced, and a legacy that would endure. Tyrone looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you," feeling the hidden blessings in his history and knowing that he too had a place in it.